check this out. The rawhide road. It seems to be Fremont.
Alright, so this video and audio was a complete failure. So I'm gonna try and do some voiceover. The reason why it was a failure is I retired my old Bell Adventure helmet. It was starting to have issues with the face shield, and so I didn't have a microphone set up for this other helmet, and I was waiting for a new Bell Adventure helmet to come in. So as you can see, my field of view isn't set correctly. I'm using my Insta360 Ace Pro 2, and I thought I set up my field of view, and then once I pushed the record button a couple of times, the camera was pointing more at my tank bag than it was at the horizon. Also, with no microphone, you can basically hear no audio when I'm riding. Alright, so the whole purpose of this ride and this video was to check out that road that I just stopped at. It's called Rawhide Road. I'm doing a Dayton to Vegas ride at the end of the month, and taking along a riding partner, and so we're trying to avoid the 8 miles of sand outside of Fallon and in between Hawthorne and Gabbs. So we're taking an alternate route since we are on big adventure bikes.
Should be a good road.
Alright, so as I'm heading down this road, I am on Dunlap Mission 50/50 adventure tires, which my back tire is probably 3/4 worn out, so it's more like a road slick. I probably got another 2,000 miles I could do on the road, but yeah, I'm just taking it easy out in the dirt because there's no tread in the center. So anyway, this road I wanted to explore for my end of the month ride to Las Vegas. There's other areas that we probably won't ride on the big bikes, especially outside of Pahrump, heading to Good Springs. And that's because of the sand, the washouts, and it's really slow going. So we probably will not be riding that either. So there probably won't be much riding in the dirt all the way from Pahrump into Vegas. It depends, but probably not going to be much desert riding there. And then the trip back home will be on the highway. So also on this ride, I found it a good time to share tips for other riders that are considering riding long rides through the desert. So I've been doing that for quite a while, over 40 years. I've been out riding this desert. And so I have a few tips that helps me deal with the heat on these long rides. You know, I usually ride from town to town, except on the dirt bike when I leave Dayton. There are no more towns really that you can go through and get ice or water, except for Gabbs, and Gabbs is usually shut down. They used to have a grocery store there and a gas station, but the reality of that is it's no longer there. So you've got to be able to make it from Dayton to Tonopah, which is about 210 to 215 miles. You have to be able to make that with your gas and with your water. The temperature on this trip got up to 99 degrees, and a lot of the trip was 93 degrees, and I think the low was 88. So, you know, 99 degrees, I mean, that's pretty hot out in the desert. It was only a short stretch of probably about 30 miles that it was 99 degrees, but still, you have to be able to endure 100 degrees temperature for approximately 100 or so miles. So this is my tip on how to endure the desert heat on a long ride. So I carry 3 liters of water in my backpack. My particular backpack has a pump system, so I can pressurize my water pack and then squirt it out the end. I believe you can shop for pressurized water packs that you can put in your backpack.
Yeah.
So what I do with my 3-liter pressurized water pack is I fill it up with at least half ice, and then I fill the rest up with water. So as you know, ice takes volume. You're not going to end up with 3 liters of water. And so But that ice in my backpack lasts quite a long time. So this ride that I was on, it went for 6.5 hours. Average temperature was floating around the 90s, above 90, but by the time I got home, I didn't have any ice in my backpack, but I still had cold water. I think also a very important thing that I do to endure the heat is I wear a double layered skull cap. So what I do is I stop when I start feeling the heat pretty good. I pull over and I take the cold water and I spray it into my skull cap and get that nice and wet, and I put that back on. And then when you put your helmet on and the vents are open, you ride down the road, it's almost like air conditioning for 15 to 20 minutes. Any kind of skull cap will work, but I found that double layer skull caps will stay wet a little bit longer, and they'll feel cooler than a single layer skull cap. I think that's a huge part, even if you don't do the ice water, just to have a double layer skull cap that you can wet down will, the wind going through your helmet will cool off your head. If you can keep your head cool, then your body can take the heat. Alrighty, so another thing that I do is I wear a neck scarf. So I pull that up over my mouth, just below my nose, and in the winter time you can pull it up over your nose. But I pull it up over my mouth, and that is very important for your group rides out in the desert. When you're riding behind people, you don't eat all that dirt. It doesn't go in your mouth. It doesn't go up your nose if you pull the scarf up over your nose. And it also helps on the highway, it helps with the road grime from the exhaust and everything if you're in heavy traffic. Not so bad, if you're traveling cross country and there isn't heavy traffic, but yeah, if you're in a lot of heavy traffic, you get a lot of that road grime in your face. And then same thing with the pressurized water system. I can squirt water in the front there, and it helps a little bit to cool you off. The other thing with the neck scarf pulled up over your mouth is your lips won't get chapped, especially if you keep that moist with some water, so your lips aren't getting chapped from the wind. So when you stop into towns to get gas, you can fill up your bladder with ice from the ice machine. So the soda machine, I usually ask them, can I put some ice in my pack, and they don't care. You're not going to use that much ice, not like a bag of ice. So you're only using like a third a bag of ice, and so that hasn't been a problem for me. And like on a trip to Beatty or Vegas, you know, my ice will last about 200 miles. So I go to Tonopah, put more ice in, and then go to Beatty, and then from Beatty I'd put ice in and go to Vegas. So another tip and trick, most of you will probably carry chapstick for your lips, or even maybe a small one of those travel little containers of Vaseline for your lips. And another good use for that is for your zippers. So I carry extra chapstick, and what I'll do is when I see them, I'll get those extra big ones. You know, sometimes it says cocoa butter or something, but I'll carry an extra chapstick, and with the zipper open, you rub it up and down on the zipper on each side, and then that will make your zippers work smoothly. If you're riding in a group ride and your zippers are getting all that dirt and grime on there, you know, then the zippers don't want to work anymore. You know that. Everybody's experienced that. So with the chapstick, it'll help to resolve that. There was a fella at the Giant Loop rally who had zippers failed, and I told him about the chapstick, but you know, he wanted to tell me how he used WD-40 and his zippers still failed. And WD-40 is not a good oil to use on zippers. It's not a good oil to use on a lot of things. I think he was using it on his chain also, but WD-40 is water base. It has a water base to it, so it does not work out well for some things, probably a lot of things, but chapstick on your zipper will last longer. So also, I do own motorcycle gloves, but generally I do not buy motorcycle gloves because they usually run $50, $75, $100 for a set of motorcycle gloves, and they don't last any longer than a good pair of work gloves. So I usually grab a good pair of work gloves. A lot of work gloves nowadays have a touchscreen finger on them, but you'll see if you get a pair of work gloves that does not have touchscreen capability, on my left hand in this video you'll see I made a little slit up near the tip of my finger so that I can manipulate my phone screen and my camera button. So you can do that. I'm actually surprised nowadays that they even make gloves without touchscreen finger on them, at least one. But that's another tip for you. You can get a good pair of work gloves for $20, $25. You know, half of what motorcycle gloves cost you. So this road turned out to be excellent. We have a lot of these types of roads just going through the middle of Nevada. Some of them are less maintained, but this is a good route that I found. There's a lot of roads around this one going in the same direction, but they're probably not as in good a shape as this road. This is the road that goes all the way into Hawthorne. It's called Rawhide. So it is the road that goes down in between the military base bunkers and into town. So you do have to make a left-hand turn up here. I don't know if I videotaped that, but from the railroad tracks in Hawthorne, it is 19.5 miles to where this turnoff is. So I think this will work out good for us. So off to my right hand side there is the geothermal power plant project going on. So yeah, making energy out there with hot water, I believe. Yeah. So lots of roads out here running through the desert. It's was just tempting me to go down that road and see where it goes, but I believe it just goes to another mine. I don't think it reaches my destination, so we're going straight from here, and then up ahead we would make a left-hand turn, which goes on into Hawthorne.
My turn right here. Better make sure.
That is not my turn. Okay, so this is the road, Rawhide Road, coming from Hawthorne, and I'm looking down this road right before the right-hand turn.
All right, so easy to miss.
So like I said, it'd be easy to miss if you're just hauling butt down this road. You'll drive right past it and not even realize it's there, unless you look off to the right-hand side. So I'm marking it. So
74 miles.
So on top of the ridge on the right-hand side, as I go by, you'll see one lone antelope, but there was 3 of them that ran across the road. All right, so the distance from the railroad tracks here up to the turnoff that goes past the geothermal plant to Gabbs is 18.5 miles, because I thought my odometer said 75 when I started.
All right, so I don't think I recorded any of that back there. I don't know when I stopped recording, but I left Hawthorne, went out to Gabbs, as you'll see on the video, rode a dirt road over to the dirt road that connects, that comes down between all these bunkers over here. That's the road we're going to use to go to when we go to Vegas. It bypasses the 8 miles of sand. I don't know how the field of view is on this camera because it keeps moving every time I push the record button. The other thing I was saying was I got a new pair of earplugs. They're pretty awesome. A guy at the Giant Loop, yeah, I'll get it here in a minute if my brain starts working. A guy at the Giant Loop was wearing them. They're called earpiece. They have 3 levels of dB quietness, and I have the mediums on, which seem pretty good right now. But we'll see how they work, you know, because you do get a lot of wind noise as you're riding. And we're taking, of course, the highway home. So we can get home before dark. All right, let's get in front of this diesel.